On the one hand, CPEC is completely gone berserk. On the other hand, the Chinese engineers get killed. Their people are getting killed near the Tajik border. Something is happening on the Uzbek border as well.
Possibly the BNP is going to be winning the elections, and which they rightfully did. Interview by the president, I think, day before yesterday, where he said he was like a caged bird. I wouldn't really go by that because I think he also played along with them for his own survival.
इतना सारा बॉम्ब हथियार सब लेके तैयार है एंड मोदी जी फ्लाई कर रहे हैं डायरेक्ट इजराइल.
You cannot say that I can do something different and work on a different strategy out of the box. You can't. You have to play it pragmatically and with them and with realism. For some reason, I think they have been overly influenced by the Chinese and by the Pakistani to assume that the Indians are forever going to be their enemies. But it has a band of fighters who have over the last 3 decades fought against the Russians, they fought against the Americans. Sailors have been sailing the seas for centuries.
Yeah,
The ships didn't have WCs that time. The people stood there, did their job sitting on the plank, and they did what they had to do. So I'm a little surprised at how the US Navy not been able to improvise itself and get over this problem.
yeah, absolutely. वंदे मातरम दोस्तों, मैवरिक जियोपॉलिटिक्स के आज के सेशन में आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है. चैनल को लाइक, शेयर और सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलिएगा. आज हमारे साथ है लेफ्टिनेंट कर्नल मनोज चन्नन सर. सर्व्ड इन इंडियन आर्मी आर्मर्ड कोर, currently working as an independent defense consultant, and is a regular contributor to online and print publications, namely the Indian Express, frontierindia.com, South Asia Monitor, and Salute and Fauji magazine. Pranam sir, and welcome to our show.
Ram, because just to let you know, my first article got printed in the print paper yesterday.
Fantabulous news, sir. Many congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
if you can separately share the link with me, or
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not so sure if it is there already in LinkedIn, maybe I'll go through. Many
Yeah,
congratulations, sir.
thanks, thanks. So this article was written on the political-military leadership and the wake of the revelations made in General Darwane's book,
Okay.
Four Stars and Destiny. So on the issues he raised, uh, it's a joint article. It has been written along with General A.K. Singh.
Okay.
He was the former governor of Andaman Nicobar,
Ji.
and he's also cavalry officer. So we both jointly wrote this article to put the things into right perspective.
Okay.
There are, of course, many views which are for and against, as always, but that's welcome. I mean, everything is not the absolute truth. So, we just try to put forth a view which was unbiased. So,
Ji, absolutely, sir.
I'll
Absolutely.
leave it at that.
Absolutely. I'll take some time to read that, sir. So
Sure,
please share that link with us.
I will. I will.
I request our viewers also to please go through the publication. I'm sure that will be a fantastic read. Right, sir. Manoj sir, we have a couple of topics today. Maybe we can start with बांग्लादेश की वहां पे क्या हो रहा है. Apparently काफी ज्यादा न्यूज में आ गया बांग्लादेश आफ्टर प्रेसिडेंट्स इंटरव्यू. देयर मे बी वी कैन स्टार्ट फ्रॉम बांग्लादेश.
So, it was before the election results came out, it was very much clear that possibly the BNP is going to be winning the elections, and which they rightfully did because they had no opposition in terms of the Awami League because that political party had been banned. And, as politics in the subcontinent occur, the opposition people are arrested, put under false charges and whatnot. So you get a clean run. But that, notwithstanding the fact, I think one of the positive signs is that the party has come into power with two-thirds majority. They have, as anticipated, not gone along with the reforms committee under Muhammad Yunus. And the subsequent interview by the president, I think day before yesterday, where he said he was like a caged bird. I wouldn't really go by that because I think he also played along with them for his own survival or for his own political ambitions. Now that the things have changed and he found that the BNP is not really moving along the same lines, It's his way of, saving his own soul. So, and as a politician, it's the recluse of the scoundrel, as they say, and he is just trying to save himself. So, I wouldn't go by that. But the good outcomes and positives, I think, everything, every change has to be seen from a positive perspective. We don't have to look at his history and carry the baggage along with it.
जी.
In the past, we've not had very good tidings with the BNP in power, and and we were a bit biased towards the Wami League during Sheikh Hasina's regime for the last 15 years. And the fact that she was Mujibur Rahman's daughter and, you know, goes back to 70-71 when we assisted them in their liberation. But now that history has moved on and we are now sitting in 2026, we have to see things as to how the cards are dealt to us now and how the pawns are on the chessboard, to say
जी.
so. Right. So you got to play the hand that has been dealt to you. You cannot say that I can do something different and work on a different strategy out of the box. You can't. You have to play it pragmatically and with them and with realism. I'm sure the new prime minister is an aspirant. He stayed in the US for 17, 18 years.
UK.
UK,
UK.
sorry, and so he has his views probably influenced to some extent with the liberal world that he has
Mm.
been in, and not be constrained to the restricted or let's say an extremist position of what the Jamaat is trying to do in Bangladesh. There have been some changes made within their army. I think that's correctly so because he would want people who he assumes would make sure that he remains safe. And I think it's a reality that the India and Bangladesh have the longest land border,
Yeah.
and we are also very close at the on the seashore side, on the sea side, because 12 nautical miles actually sort of overlaps onto each other's side.
Yeah.
So it's a very close relationship. In the past, we've had the Bangladeshis coming over for their medical treatment.
Yeah.
They have been surviving on a lot of raw materials that we've been supplying to them for their textile. Uh, they're not too happy with the defense forces. For some reason, I think they have been overly influenced by the Chinese and by the Pakistani to assume that the Indians are forever going to be their enemies. India has never sort of been kinetic against the Bangladeshis. We've always been kind to them. Uh, Notwithstanding the fact that the Bangladesh Rangers have been shooting and has several times killed BSF personnel with unprovoked firing. Our retaliation has not been commensurate to what we do at the line of control or the line of control only. No, we actually don't shoot at the line of actual control. So our reactions could have been much harsher. If I'm trying to just explain to you what happened on against Pakistan and what's been happening with Bangladesh. So we've been treating them with kid gloves, and we assume that better sense will prevail, and they would see that a relationship with India means a lot for them economically, and it builds goodwill between the people. And if you go back into history and you see what the events were before partition, you see the Bengali literature was far more etched into the now part of Bangladesh, and that continues to exist. And even today, while papers may not report the factuals, but the celebrations of Durga Puja, etc., do take place with equal favor there. So I think we have to just see that it's early days for any government. I mean, they're still stabilizing, they're finding their feet. Their MPs have not signed that declaration that they wanted to be signed on their swearing-in ceremony. So some political battles will take place, and I think BNP will find its way forward. Uh, I also assume, I don't think pragmatically it's pragmatic, but I think that they will probably lift the ban on Awami League also
Mm.
because at the end of the day, they have a choice between having people who are, you know, mediocre, balanced, and progressive. If Bangladesh has to grow as a country, it has a choice either to grow or become a, extremist country and go the way that Pakistan is going through. No economy, levels of poverty shooting up each day. Yet the political leadership continues with the army to survive and enjoy all the perks that they can. So it's, I think, early days, but I'm positive that things will improve between India and Bangladesh for sure.
Right, right, sir. Um, Sir, there is one attack in Pakistan by Afghanistan also. I think that was pretty expected, isn't it? From a from Afghanistan's perspective, because bombing Afghanistan and killing 16 people from one family, that response was expected. What's your view on that, sir?
So you see, Pakistan army thinks that uh, Afghanistan has no army per se, right? But it has a band of fighters who have over the last 3 decades fought against the Russians, they fought against the Americans. They're pretty battle hardened, and I'm sure they can take on the Pakistanis whenever they want to in the land warfare. Pakistan may have its F-16 supplied by the Americans, and they may think that they can continue to fight the war on terror by bombing people who are unarmed. I don't think it's really going to work out because at the end of the day, the Afghanis are maturing in their approach. Everything takes time. And they now realize that for a long time, the Pakistani leadership, especially the ISI and the Pakistani military leadership, has been taking them for a long ride and has been using them as their foot soldiers to achieve the political aims, whether by sending a few trained mujahideens to Kashmir in India or fighting or creating in fighting between the Taliban itself, between their separate groups. So now with the Afghani Taliban and the Taliban Pakistan, what is creating the problem for them, seem to have somehow joined hands to find what is going to be better for them. So I think these killings will happen, and the Baloch army is also raising its head. You have seen that video where they've got a few soldiers, and they are begging for their life and crying and all. As a veteran, I don't think it's a very pleasant sight to see, but at the same time, I feel that the Pakistani army I thought was more professional. Uh, you know, uh, we've also been fighting insurgency since our independence in various phases across various parts of our country. Uh, we have ensured that we are never caught on the wrong foot, and we have also been trying to win over the hearts and minds of the people. We've not just been fighting the insurgency; we've been going for the radical set of people who have been creating terror. We are not killing people at large, going into villages and killing the entire lot. Uh, Let me explain this with an example which we faced when we were in Sri Lanka in 1987. Uh, the Sri Lankan army had created a special force called the Special Task Force, STF, it was used to be referred to. STF was trained to do only one thing, to go into a village. They would isolate the men, the boys, anything above 18 to 70 would just be shot. The aim was that if you wipe out this set of population, there'll be nobody to fight against you.
Mm,
Not realizing that a young child who was seeing his brothers or father being killed will also grow someday and become a terrorist.
correct.
So it's a cycle. It's a thought process. It's not about just eliminating the physical form of humans to say that we have killed the insurgency. In my mind, insurgencies don't get killed. They become latent and they may erupt anytime. If they get the right leadership, they get the right amount of funding, they'll come back.
I think
If
that is what happened, sir, in Balochistan also, isn't it? Where पाक आर्मी ने इतने सारे बलोचों को मार दिया, especially the men, that the family has nothing left, and the women now have taken the guns in their hands and they are now fighting. They are left with no option, isn't it? It's the same kind of story what you shared about the Sri
yeah,
Lanka and in Balochistan, because the army's mindset remains same, that if we wipe out some men, this is going to end because there will be no opposition. But that doesn't work that way. I mean,
no, so you see, even in our own heartland of agriculture areas that we have, as Punjab or UP or MP or Bihar,
hmm,
no, where the conflicts take place is based on land.
hmm,
And when there's a fire, when there's a fight or a quarrel on a piece of land, and somebody uses his force and he kills somebody else, that animosity continues over decades, over generations. It doesn't get over. So it's the same story on either side. So that is why there have to be solutions found for finding ways to ensure that peace and prosperity come back.
yeah,
It has to be
absolutely.
seen from both sides. So as you know, as a professional army, I think like what we do as in the Indian Army and Indian Defense Forces is that we ensure that there's no collateral damage. We suffer casualties. We know that we are undergoing the pain of getting hurt, but it's to ensure that our own citizens don't get killed in the firefight.
Absolutely.
So I think that is something which is missing in across the globe armies. That's the uniqueness of the Indian Army. That is something which people must really understand.
Sir, as far as Pak army is concerned, now I was thinking, see, you have a problem with Balochistan. Why do you need to take your F-16s and bomb them? Why don't your army put their boots on the ground and fight them? Why don't you do that? If you have a problem, because they don't come through air, right? They are crossing through the KP region, and then they are, from Peshawar, they are coming to Pakistan, and you just put your boots on the ground and fight. Why do you need to bomb them?
So where do they find the boots on the ground? They have an LOC active against us. Are they going to pull back from there? They won't. They have an active border now with Afghanistan. So where are they going to pull back people from? They are very keen to send troops to Gaza. They have troops in Saudi Arabia for the protection of the kingdom.
Yeah,
So, you know, all these optics of using F-16s against war on terrorism is, using the American terminology of showing that they're effectively fighting war. It is not. A fighter plane flying at 800 kilometers an hour, trying to hit a pinpoint target on a hilltop. It's optics. It's more for the domestic audience to say that you're using all your might to fight the Baluchis, but you're not really achieving anything.
absolutely, absolutely. Is there a fear factor in their mind? I mean, उनको डर लगता है क्या कि हम लोग ने अगर boots on the ground किया भी, then also it is like losing our own pants. The way last time it happened.
So, if there's a Pakistani viewer who's possibly watching this, well, the factor is that the Indian army is not going to start crossing over the LOC just because they pulled out troops.
Yeah,
We are not. We as a country don't have any aspirations to alter the land borders or capture territory anywhere.
yeah,
Yes, but if you bring in terrorists into safe havens of your army camps and you try and launch them against us, we'll hit you. But if you mind your own business on your side of the world, we're not going to do anything. You fight your ghosts, we'll fight ours. So it's actually a question mark within their own mindset as to
Yeah,
how to deal with it. And sincerely, I don't think they have a solution to it because economically they are so weak internally that the show of force is only trying to put a handkerchief on a major problem. It's not getting covered, it's all visible.
right. Sir, moving on to Iran, that is another hot topic I wanted to talk to you about. The kind of build-up that we are seeing, the kind of logistical issues or hygienic issues we are seeing. I mean, it's a comic situation from 4,500 people stranded in a ship, but then
No,
again, basic
no,
hygiene issues are there. I mean, it's comical.
no, my thing is, you see, sailors have been sailing the seas for centuries.
Yeah,
The ships didn't have WCs that time. The people stood there, did their job sitting on the plank, and they did what they had to do. So I'm a little surprised that how the US Navy has not been able to improvise itself and get over this problem.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
That is one. Second is, I don't think, I mean, while this so-called portal has released such information, it's become more of a butt joke. But I don't think that should be a very serious problem because all the US has to do is rotate one aircraft carrier and its problem is solved. So it's not that crucial that because of USS Gerald Ford having a sanitation problem that the attack won't go in. I think that's a very, very weak or a lame duck excuse to sort of suggest that the attack won't go. On the other side, I think you have to also be realistic that since the time this buildup has been happening, I think as is reported, I don't have any factual data, but as I read in the various uh, magazines, that there's been a buildup of the Chinese Navy into the area, and they're monitoring all the situation. And almost 80% of China's oil comes in from Iran.
Yeah.
And while the US may be wanting to flex its muscles, the Chinese are not flexing muscles, but they will ensure that their energy needs are not compromised. And to that extent, I don't think the US or President Donald Trump wants to take on the Chinese in a direct confrontation.
Hmm.
So therefore, it's a little impasse. On the other side, as we discussed last time, I'd mentioned that the Russians also have a serious interest in Iran.
Hmm.
The Iranians have been supporting them with their, you know, drones, which they were effectively modified, and they're fighting against the Ukrainians. So there will be a tacit Russian support also. So if you have two major nuclear powers supporting the Iranians, notwithstanding what Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu may decide, along with President Trump, that attack is not going to be so easily carried out. There will be repercussions. And while the West may continue to think that the Russian economy is collapsing, I don't see them collapsing over the last 4 years. I mean, they are surviving. Europe has collapsed in between, but they haven't. So it's all about narrative building, and I think it's still saber rattling. The Americans, I think, are trying to find a way to get to the Iranian leadership and sort of eliminate it so that they can supposedly impose a regime change. But I don't think it's that simple. You know, in go to any country, there would be 50% of the people who say, "Yes, I want a regime change." But regime change don't take place just because of the whimsical minds of a few outsiders and a few insiders. If that was the case, then I think we would be in a pressure cooker state across the globe at all times because somebody would be doing something somewhere, right? So it is precarious, but I don't think it's that anything very serious is going to happen in the near future. Because after the last airstrikes carried out by the US and with the support of the Israelis, I think they have achieved their limited aim. but that does not mean that the nuclear program of the Iranians has been shut down. I'm sure it must be on, and they have adequate backup both from China and Russia to support them in whatever manner. It could be, I mean, nobody talks about it, but it could be that uh, whatever they need is probably being done in the host countries of the US, Russia or China, or maybe North Korea. So how the Americans and the Israelis going to deal with it? It's just about pushing across a few things across the border. Everything is not monitored. You can't monitor it at all times. But I doubt that the Iranians will ever use nuclear power to actually threaten anybody because they know that globally it will not be acceptable, and if they do so, they'll get further isolated from amongst their friends also.
Hmm. Sir, what are your views on Modi ji's visit to Israel? इतना सारा बॉम्ब हथियार सब लेके तैयार है एंड मोदी जी फ्लाई कर रहे हैं डायरेक्ट इजराइल. आई एम श्योर देयर इज बीन लॉट ऑफ प्लानिंग दैट हैज गॉन बिहाइंड द विजिट.
I, you see, there have been speculations. I mean, a lot of the opposition political leadership has been questioning this as to why the prime minister is flying into Tel Aviv when it's at the brink of war with Iran, and while Indian government has given an advisory for all Indians to vacate Iran by all possible means.
एग्जैक्टली या.
I would just harner a guess that at times many things are not available in the public domain. There could be some reasons for the prime minister to visit. Uh, could be under the advice of the Americans to say that yes, we are with you, and we want to, sort of curb this genocide being carried out in Iran by the local authorities there. And I think since the prime minister had gone last in 2017 August, I think, if I remember correctly. So this visit after about 8 9 years is fine. It's okay. I mean, it's just a bilateral visit, and the timing is, of course, very well driven because of geopolitics. But I wouldn't like to hazard a guess why he went. But if you were to stand off at a distance and look at it, it's possibly to give a tacit nod to whatever is happening in the geopolitics of the world there. And I doubt that India would be part of that board that
पीस
President Trump
बोर्ड.
is peace board to say that we'll pay $1 billion and be part of it. I don't think we would ever be part of it for whatever reasons, uh, because we have everybody hostile to us on that board. Why should we be on sitting on the same table? So
वी आर एन
I
ऑब्जर्वर
think it's a
राइट.
bit of a Hanji?
वी आर एन ऑब्जर्वर. Currently the
Yeah,
status is that we
yeah.
are an
So
observer
so
in that board.
so my question has been that while President Trump is looking at creating a Gaza enclave and fancy, real estate projects coming up, but in the past, have we taken the Palestinians on board? We haven't. Has the Hamas come on board? It hasn't. So, with these two principal people not on board, how are you creating those enclaves? And who's going to stay there? Who's going to ensure your security? If you go to Tel Aviv, wherever the Palestinians and the other people are sort of cordoned off in their walled cities, I don't think it's a very comfortable sight to see, to possibly imagine that you're staying within a gated and controlled entry-exit area. And I mean, we've all witnessed the COVID, and you couldn't cross the border, say, from Gurgaon to Delhi. So everybody was feeling constrained within that. You forget about being in a walled environment with electric fences and machine gun posts and under constant surveillance. I mean, I don't think. I mean, these are very fancy things to use for creating a buzz in the market, but nothing beyond it. It's called a flash in the pan, is I think is the right term.
Sir, there has been terror attack in China. What are your views on that? Uh, I
I
think
possibly missed it. I haven't
three
read.
locations uh, there were attacks: Shantao, Zibo, and Putian in the Fujian province. And MSS have found out that LET is behind those. Lashkar-e-Taiba.
I don't think that would be that easy with a
It's,
controlled.
it's, it's it's a social media news. I mean,
Yeah,
more
so
prevalent in social media. Of course, China doesn't speak anything about that. So nothing from an official Chinese perspective per se, but there are reports that there have been something that has been happening.
so you see in the past, if you look at the deals being targeted by the Chinese, uh, nobody, whether it's Saudi Arabia or Pakistan or any Indonesia or any of the dominant Muslim countries, ever uttered a word as to what are you doing to these people.
Yeah.
And we all know that they have been ill-treated, they have been used for harvesting human organs, whatever, for the Chinese population, and so on and so forth. So I think this, I wouldn't give it much credibility. And if it has happened, I just feel sorry for the folks of those people, in those surrounding areas, because the PLA is going to be just wiping out the population. In the past, I'm talking about 2006-7, I think, when again there were some elements of resistance against the PLA. I did have a whole lot of photographs where the people had been lined up against ditches and they were being shot down by the PLA, as was being done by the Germans during World War II against the Jews. So, such regimes are ruthless. They do not, there is no justice. It's instant justice that's saying that if you exist from that part of the world or that village, you don't deserve to live anymore because somebody from your clan took this action. So, it's an eye for an eye kind of a situation as what the Muslims believe in. And in this case, it's one sided. It's the Chinese regime against so called the minorities.
Sir, how many times the Chinese have shielded Masood Azhar in UN? Every time they put a veto. And this time they are now facing the other side of it, the brunt of it, in terms of their own provinces are now getting hit. It's like Hillary Clinton's statement some years ago. You you have snakes in your backyard, and it's foolish not to expect them to not to bite.
No,
So I
so
think
you
Chinese
see,
are getting a taste of it.
no, you see, the Chinese are doing it at a macro level because they have their interests with Pakistan.
Correct.
So that's why they're using that veto. It's not for anything else. At the moment, you have to see what is China's intent. China's intent is that it should create Pakistan, which more or less is its vassal state. It wants Bangladesh also to be its vassal state. It's trying very hard to make Nepal its vassal state, and so as much Bhutan.
Yeah.
So if if you actually see, and on the other side, not to forget Myanmar, right? So the aim is that if their aim is that they somehow should creep to the seas, and if they're able to creep to the seas, as in Gwadar or say, let's for high sake of argument, say Chittagong port, you access on both sides of the seaboard, Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. So you're ensuring that your energy supplies, which go through the Malacca Straits and through a narrow patch, which can be blocked by anybody, you have alternatives availability. So it's the aim of trying to get alternative supply routes for yourself. So, you have to give some and you got to lose some in such games. So I think with 1.3 billion population, couple of guys getting killed doesn't make a headline. I think it stopped making headlines in India, so in China, I'm sure it doesn't make any difference.
But sir, how are the Chinese going to now um, take this? with the Pakistani leadership? Because on the one hand, CPEC is completely gone berserk. On the other hand, the Chinese engineers get killed. Their people are getting killed near the Tajik border. Something is happening on the Uzbek border as well. So, I mean, how do you think the PLA or the CCP will take it up with the Pakistan government or the army rather, Asim Munir?
No, at the moment, Asim Munir is the darling boy of America, so they were waiting and watching. And at the same time, they also know that the Pakistanis don't have much of a choice because at some point they will fall back to China because they are in this part of the world. US is not in their immediate neighborhood to sort of support them. At the same time, the Chinese also have had problems with all their neighbors. Very few issues of border issues have been resolved between them and their neighbors. If I'm not wrong, there are 22 countries which border China, and majority issues have not been resolved. Very few have been resolved, and I think they're also not that well resolved because the Chinese aim of creeping forward and doing salami slicing is always there at the back of the mind. So, depending on how the geopolitical environment is in their part of the world and in their subsectors, they will continue to sort of engage with you. Like for example, if you see the Chinese engaging with us on the LSE, they keep saying that the land issue is not a major problem. It will get resolved someday. So let's not keep it in the forefront. Let's keep it on the back burner and let's focus on other things.
Yeah.
Now, on other things, what is happening is that we are economically getting more and more dependent on the Chinese. So today you are at a state that if you do not engage the Chinese in your trade, going to war with them doesn't help. Because in any case, by the trade that we are doing, we are supporting the Chinese effort for fighting a war against us. If you look at it in one manner, that's what we are exactly doing. But the politician will not speak it, nor with the bureaucrat or nor with the diplomat. But these are the harsh realities.
Yeah. Right, sir. I think we have covered quite a few things today. Considering your own bandwidth today, I think you have another session uh, coming up.
I just want to add one factor. I
Ji,
was,
ji, ji.
we are talking about the free FTAs with the EU and so on and so forth, which I think we discussed last time.
Yeah.
A very interesting revelation came up, I think, on one of the talk shows that the Americans have a agreement with the EU which has not got ratified for the last 6 years. Okay.
Mm.
And we have signed with 27 countries in the EU, and we are going gaga that we signed an agreement with them. So implementation, I think, is where the challenge is. And now, with the US Supreme Court having upset the tariff plans of the US government, it has brought all the negotiations back to the drawing board to starting afresh. So that
Which should have
80%.
been the first step, isn't it?
No, I think probably we were aware that such a judgment may come in, but I think in diplomatic niceties, we just played along to say, वो आ जाएगा तो फिर देख लेंगे बात. So once it has come, I think we did not send our delegation to the US, and now the discussions start afresh. And rightly so. And why should we sign up for something which is grossly wrong? And I think there are reports which do link as to why Mr. Trump is trying to build up this is also related to the story of how much of gold is being held in Fort Knox. That story started when Mr. Trump was to be sworn in to say that Elon Musk would ensure that there is an audit carried out and the audit report will be made public. but that never happened. So the safety of the dollar, I think, is where the entire thing hinges. Because if the dollar is not safe, and God forbid, whatever be the truth or untruth of Fort Knox gold holdings, if it comes out, it will actually upset the apple cart very badly for the US. Though it's not that simple, but I think uh, definitely it will create a ripple within the US markets, within the US system of its own governance, because people will ask some questions as to what happened, and that way, I think to some extent, the US electorate and the Senate has adequate spine to stand up
Mm.
and question the right questions.
Right.
I just thought I'd just put this as a closing part of the thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, sir. Thank you so much, Manoj, sir, for your views. This really helps and clarifies a lot of things. Uh, Grateful for your time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, because all the best, and
Thank
talk
you
to
so
you
much, sir.
soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye
I
bye.
would request our viewers to please like and share and subscribe to our channel. And we will request Manoj, sir, for another session some other day. He's very busy. He has his own prints to ensure that those come out on time. So that way, we are grateful to Manoj, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks,
Again,
Vikas. All the best. God bless. Bye bye.
thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Jai
Bye
Hind, Bharat Mata ki Jai.
bye.